So it seems like at this point, even if the Heat wanted to save this situation, Jimmy Butler wants out and it's become unmanageable. Not just Shams Charania, but Ira Winderman and the Miami Herald are reporting the same thing. And if you guys didn't know, I've been fortunate enough to be able, with hoopshype.com, to be covering the team. You know, I'm not a beat writer. I've just been able to go to shoot arounds and practices and get some interviews with guys. And this is clearly a team that Pat Riley, the Godfather, he's always there at practice and has a large finger on this team. And this is what I was told by one source that in the media that has a lot more sources. This is the way he put it to me. The problem here is they tried to big time LeBron left. They tried to big time Dwayne Wade left. And they tried to big time Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler now wants out. That's sort of how one person put it to me, as kind of like why their relationship eroded. Now, with that being said, I think we're just going to have to go ahead and talk about this. The expectation is that they're going to trade him and they want expiring salaries back. And let me pause this. Sorry, I had the wrong mix going. And with that being said, it's thought that they want to trade for expiring salaries so they can have cap flexibility. I was talking about this. The NBA free agency is going to be more like MLB and NFL now, where teams are going to try to create cap space similar to how the 76ers were able to do this year, and even the Clippers, and either build your team with cheap or, affordable deals to build up the depth, or do a bunch of short-term deals with good, high paid players, and then fill the rest with, minimum salaries. And the Heat want that cap flexibility. So we're going to get into this. We're going to talk about potential trades. Sorry for the long-winded start. So let's get right into it. I think there's only 3 teams that are really going to be able to trade for Jimmy Butler. Number one, I think it's Golden State is the front runner. That's what I've heard. That's what everybody is assuming. And with that, if we're going to operate under that assumption that they are the front runners and we're going to do them first. After that, I would have to assume, my apology, I don't know why that popped up, but we'd have to assume that the next team that would come into play would have to be, I'm thinking right here, it'd have to be a team that maybe along the lines of, I don't think the Dallas Mavericks or the Houston Rockets really want to mess up what they have. So who could it be? And that's where I think it becomes really interesting. I think Denver's the second one if they're desperate. And the third one, who do you guys think? I'll let you guys comment right now. And I think the third team's going to be, I'd want to say it'd have to be either a Phoenix Suns, but I don't think they want Bradley Beal. So Brandon Ingram, the Pelicans, and maybe the 76ers or the Minnesota Timberwolves are like tied for 3 because they can maybe send them deals where they can save money. So let's get right into it. And we're just going to start with, and I thought Al Burks would be the guy if they have to throw in for salary filler, the Heat would include because they can aggregate a player. But from what I've been told, the most likely deal to happen is going to be this. You can fill in the draft pick compensation, but it's going to look like along the lines like this. To me, when you do a deal like that we're about to show, I wonder if it'll be Kevon Looney or Gary Payton. I feel like Gary Payton kind of seems like a guy the Heat would want just to shore up their perimeter defense. And so, yeah, they're sending out right here Gary Payton, Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, and they'd have to cut 5.7 from the Warriors. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So, 1 second. We'll be right back. And we have returned. So, the one trade that we'd have to wait till February 5th, I believe, is the day that he's trade eligible, is Dennis Schroeder. There are rumors that because of how recently they want this trade to go through, the problem is so the Warriors would have to cut 1.8 still from this deal, which then would make you think, okay, they probably would just throw in a Guy Santos and that would get the deal done. And then you could arguably say that Al Alec Burks, I believe, could be included because he's on a minimum contract. We'll just keep that there. We're going to show you the other Warriors trade real quickly that could go down, and boom, they would have to remove $725,000. So if you wanted to have Alec Burks included in this deal, it'd have to be instead Lindy Waters. And from what I've been told, Lindy Waters is someone that they really like. So I doubt that would be something that would happen. And as I said, I took out Al Burks and didn't take out Guy Santos. Wow, that was stupid. Either way, just to show you what that deal is going to look like, because of the other deal where right here still saying that the numbers wouldn't match. So you're seeing that it'd have to be Kuminga and Wiggins at the very least. So with that being said, if it is Kuminga and Wiggins at the very least, Kevon Looney and Gary Payton, I've floated the idea of Kyle Anderson being the guy that the Heat would rather like. But again, the expiring contracts right here, if they cut $156,000 from the Heat's incoming trade, that's where it becomes, where we start to look at the difficulties of making these deals work. Is can they get this done? They have to have obviously less money going out. So the Warriors deal becomes difficult because you have to jump through hoops to get it. So it would have to be like a Josh Richardson. This is the most likely deal to happen. You got basically all expiring contracts except for Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is an all-star this year, or going to be one. Josh Richardson's been injured with this like heel calf thing, and Jimmy Butler go to the Warriors. And yeah, that's the deal that I think is most likely. That's the deal I think most likely is going to happen. As we've said, the Denver Nuggets would be the team. And from my understanding, because Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon can't be traded, it's going to have to be a deal centered around Michael Porter Jr., Jimmy Butler. The whole thing now is the Heat don't want extra salary, and you'd have to include Zeke Nnaji and Dario Saric to fill that salary in. And this is where I think you're gonna have to call in a third team. And just to show you that from a number standpoint, this technically doesn't work because the Heat are taking back more money, and this is why you would need to find a third team to get this deal done. And the Heat, hypothetically speaking, could again throw in Alec Burks, and we can just say that this is a done deal like that. I personally think, yeah, throw in Alec Burks. Okay, he could be kept there, but I think if you're looking for another guy or a home for Zeke Nnaji and Dario Saric, even though I think Dario could fit the Heat culture, they kind of already have Kevin Love, so it'd be counterintuitive to have the same player twice and both of them have the same limitations on defense. This is where that's right there about almost $14 million. I think the Heat would either want to see a team like the Wizards, where we know that the Wizards are trying to get off of Patrick Baldwin and Johnny Davis. Now, I don't know if Johnny Davis would be the guy that they'd ask for, but in this situation, we know that Rashawn Holmes and Marvin Bagley are too big. So what if you can see that you can send this to the Wizards, and would this be the 3-team trade that could salary dump? And exactly, I think something like this would be more realistic. Heat walk away with Marvin Bagley Jr. as a expiring big man to give him depth. Patrick Baldwin, they can cut him, or he's a depth piece, and they get themselves Michael Porter Jr. You'd assume Wizards would be compensated in some way for taking on the salaries of Zeke Nnaji and Dario Saric. Saric would probably be a buyout candidate, while Nnaji is probably a reclamation project. Jimmy Butler and Alec Burks goes to the Nuggets. That's the 3-team trade that I think would happen if the Nuggets end up again, I think that's more out of desperation if something like that were to happen. Now, I think the Sixers, their season is hopeless, and if there was more hope in the season, maybe it's a Paul George that they're trying to send. I just think the numbers right here, 8, 16, 24, that's about almost 30, 34, 37. Like, you can't get there. They don't have the numbers to do it unless you trade Paul George. So I feel like that's more of a deal if it was in the offseason. I don't think the Knicks have anybody to really trade unless they're going to trade Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson. Still, that's going to get you to 32 million, 38 with Precious Achiuwa, and you're still short. Even if you had, it's just a massive trade that would just gut your team that I don't think's worth it. So that's where we go over. The Grizzlies could be the desperate ones where but then it goes back to the money thing. Is a Marcus Smart, John Conchar, Luke Kennard deal? Maybe you throw in Brandon Clark. I just don't think it's enticing for the Grizzlies to give up their depth to do a deal like that. So as we move here, the Timberwolves, Julius Randle is technically an expiring as he can opt out. And he's, he is cheaper. Would this be a deal that entices them? Now, who does the rest of the salary fill up to be? I think that's where it becomes difficult because Mike Conley's not going to be included. And would they trade? And I don't think Jimmy wants to go back to, and they can't aggregate players in a trade. So right there, right out, you can't do this deal. So Minnesota's out of the question. They can't do the deal. And then everybody's talking about the Suns. Bradley Beal, it's the money. You see that? It's not going to happen. So outside of those teams, who's really, as I said before, the Pelicans or the Jazz could be the dark horse where you send Jimmy Butler to the Pelicans. I mean, if they really want to move off, I think they like Terry Rozier, but in a crazy situation, maybe he's the guy. But is it Herb Jones, the sweetener? Is that the deal? I think this is an insane deal that makes no sense for anybody involved in terms of like more of the Pelicans. The Pelicans just going in for a guy that's probably going to leave them. So doesn't make sense in that respect. That's why I can't see the Pelicans doing it. And the Jazz or the Kings, I guess, are the only other team that maybe they're that desperate but this is where it becomes $48 million. Are you really going to send a package like DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Huerter? And then you throw in Trey Lyles, sweetener, throw in Colby Jones, right? I think they're already. So for me, I think you throw in Alec Burks. This is the only other trade now, I think. Yeah, DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and for Jimmy Butler and Alec Burks. So that's the only one that makes sense after that. But yeah, bye.